Elena was 28, full of hope and quiet strength, when she married Mark 2 years earlier. He was charming, with an easy smile that made her believe in forever. They eloped quickly, against her father's quiet warnings, because love felt urgent and unstoppable. What Elena didn't see coming was the poison waiting inside Mark's family home. His mother, Mrs. Hargrove, ruled like a tyrant, always finding ways to remind Elena she wasn't good enough. The father-in-law stayed silent, letting the cruelty slide. Mark's two sisters fed the fire with constant whispers and jealous glares. From the start, they treated Elena like an outsider trying to steal something that didn't belong to her. The breaking point came on a rainy night that still haunts her dreams. Elena had been hiding morning sickness for weeks, protecting the tiny life growing inside her. But rumors had started, stupid, baseless lies about her being unfaithful. It all stemmed from an old college photo on her phone, nothing more than a friendly memory. Mark, swayed by his mother's endless suspicions, exploded in rage. "Prove you're innocent," Mrs. Hargrove demanded, her voice ice-cold. "Strip. Show us you have nothing to hide." Elena's pleas fell on deaf ears. Hands grabbed her, fabric ripped, and in seconds she stood trembling and bare in the middle of the living room while her in-laws watched without a shred of mercy. Mark's sisters laughed openly, calling her names that burned deeper than any slap. Her father-in-law looked away, but never once spoke up. And Mark, the man who promised to protect her, turned his back, muttering that he should have known better. In that moment, something inside Elena cracked wide open. Shame flooded her, hot and suffocating, but beneath it a tiny flame of fury sparked to life. She clutched a thrown blanket around herself and ran out into the storm, barefoot, heart pounding, tears mixing with rain. Soaked and shaking, she hid in a cheap motel and finally dialed the one number she knew would never fail her. "Dad," she sobbed when he answered, "they stripped me. They humiliated me. Please help." On the other end, Victor, her quiet, powerful father, felt his world tilt. He had built a billionaire empire from nothing, revolutionizing tech and green energy, but none of it mattered more than his daughter. He'd raised her alone after her mother died, shielding her from his wealth so she could grow up grounded and kind. He had sensed something off about Mark's family from the beginning, but Elena's happiness had kept him silent. Now that silence ended, "I'm coming for you, baby girl," he said, voice steady despite the storm inside him. Within hours, a private jet landed nearby. Victor wrapped Elena in a warm coat himself, held her as she cried, and flew her to safety. Back in his hidden mansion, gardens blooming year-round, rooms filled with books and light, he gave her everything she needed to start healing. The best doctors, endless comfort, and most importantly, unconditional love. While Elena rested, Victor moved like a shadow. He hired investigators who uncovered years of Hargrove's secrets, tax fraud, stolen money from Mark's job, even Mrs. Hargrove's own hidden affair she had used to judge everyone else. Victor didn't rush. He planned carefully, coldly, making sure every piece fit perfectly. Days turned into weeks. Elena's belly grew rounder, her nightmares slowly quieter thanks to her father's constant presence. He cooked her favorite meals, read to her in the evenings, reminded her every single day that she was worthy, strong, and loved beyond measure. Mark tried calling, leaving weak apologies that went unanswered. Mrs. Hargrove even sent a venomous letter warning Elena to stay away forever. Victor read the letter once, then smiled, a rare, dangerous smile. "They took your dignity," he told Elena over quiet tea one night. "Now they'll learn what it feels like to lose everything they value." Elena looked up, eyes no longer broken but burning with quiet resolve. "Make them feel it, Dad. All of it." Behind the scenes, Victor bought Mark's company through hidden channels. He gathered undeniable proof. He waited for exactly the right moment. Elena, growing stronger every day, began writing down her pain, turning it into power. Father and daughter stood together now, unbreakable. The Hargroves, meanwhile, celebrated kicking Elena out, toasting with cheap wine in their crumbling mansion, completely blind to the storm gathering on the horizon. And that storm was about to break. The night of reckoning arrived disguised as opportunity. Victor hosted a glittering charity gala, inviting the city's most powerful people. He sent the Hargroves personal invitations through a trusted associate, promising business connections they desperately needed. Greed made them blind. They dressed up in borrowed finery and walked straight into the trap. Elena watched from a private room above the ballroom, hand resting on her pregnant belly, heart steady for the first time in months. Her father had turned her pain into purpose, and tonight the world would see justice served cold. The evening began smoothly. Laughter, clinking glasses, flashing cameras. Then Victor took the stage, commanding silence with quiet authority. Tonight we celebrate truth and integrity, he began. Giant screens behind him flickered to life. First came the evidence, financial records proving years of fraud and theft. Then personal indiscretions, Mrs. Hargrove's long-buried affair laid bare. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Finally, carefully edited footage showed the living room confrontation. Elena's humiliation clear enough to horrify, private enough to protect her dignity. The room went dead silent. Mrs. Hargrove's face turned ash gray. She clutched her pearls and tried to scream lies, but no one listened. Victor's voice cut through like steel. I'm Elena's father. You stripped my pregnant daughter to prove her shame. Tonight, you face yours. In minutes, everything collapsed. Victor announced he had acquired Mark's company. Mark himself fired live on screen. Bank accounts frozen. Assets seized. The sisters' vicious online history exposed, costing them jobs and reputations overnight. Even the silent father-in-law faced charges for his role in the fraud. By morning, headlines screamed across every platform. Monster in-laws strip bride. Billionaire father delivers epic revenge. The internet erupted. The Hargroves became instant pariahs, their names poison. Mark showed up at Victor's gates days later, soaked from rain, begging on his knees. Elena watched from a window and felt nothing but cold clarity. You stood by and let them destroy me, she said later through a lawyer. Live with that choice. Mrs. Hargrove's proud mansion became a memory. They moved into a cramped apartment, scraping by on low-wage jobs. The woman who once judged everyone now cleaned offices, head down, invisible. Elena, meanwhile, gave birth to a beautiful daughter she named Victoria. Her father was there for every moment, cutting the cord, crying unashamed tears, promising the little girl a lifetime of love. He turned Elena's story into a foundation helping abused women, her voice now saving others. Time passed. Elena's memoir became a bestseller. She rose in her father's company, sharp and confident, proving her worth every day. She found real love again, this time with someone who cherished her strength instead of fearing it. One quiet afternoon years later, Elena crossed paths with Mrs. Hargrove in a grocery store. The older woman, worn in gray, mumbled an apology. Elena looked her in the eye, calm and unshaken. I forgive you, she said simply, but I'll never forget. I hope you've learned something. She walked away tall, pushing her daughter's stroller, her father's proud arm around her shoulders waiting outside. The Hargroves faded into obscurity, broken by their own cruelty. Elena rose higher than ever, wrapped forever in the fierce, unbreakable love of the father who moved mountains to protect her. Because in the end, real power isn't money or revenge. It's the love that refuses to let darkness win. And Elena's light burned brighter than ever. Victor masterminded a grand charity gala, packing the venue with influential figures from business, entertainment, and media, all allies in his network. He enticed the Hargroves with personalized invitations, dangling promises of vital connections and financial salvation. Hungry for status and security, they showed up dressed in ill-fitting elegance, arrogance masking their vulnerability, never suspecting the meticulously laid snare. Elena positioned herself in a discreet upper gallery, overlooking the sparkling crowd below, her palm pressed protectively against the swell of her pregnancy. The terror that once paralyzed her had transformed into steely determination. Tonight wasn't just revenge. It was reclamation, orchestrated by the one person whose love had never wavered. The gala pulsed with energy, sophisticated conversations, flowing champagne, relentless photo flashes. Then Victor ascended the stage, his commanding aura demanding instant hush. "We are here to champion honesty and consequences," he stated powerfully. Enormous screens activated, drawing every eye. The revelations hit like precision strikes. First, comprehensive financial records exposed decades of deliberate fraud, embezzlement, and theft directly tied to the family. Next, intimate hypocrisies surfaced, irrefutable evidence of Mrs. Hargrove's secret affair, the very sin she weaponized against others. Whispers of disbelief swept the room. The final blow delivered blurred but unmistakable footage recreating the living room atrocity. Elena's degrading exposure conveyed powerfully enough to provoke collective horror, while safeguarding her personal modesty to Mrs. Hargrove crumpled visibly, face draining to ghostly white, fingers fumbling at her jewelry as futile protests died on her lips. Victor's stare pierced them all. "I am the father of the woman you brutalized," he revealed. "You stripped my expectant daughter to enforce your perverse idea of shame. Now witness true accountability." Ruin cascaded immediately and irrevocably. Victor disclosed his covert acquisition of Mark's employer. Mark's dismissal announced publicly in real time. Financial institutions locked accounts on cue. Properties transferred ownership overnight. The sisters' histories of malicious online attacks surfaced fully, obliterating employment prospects and social ties. The passive father-in-law confronted looming prosecution for complicity in the schemes. Morning brought universal condemnation. Front pages and trending feeds blazed with the scandal. Vicious family strips pregnant wife. Billionaire father executes flawless retribution. Public fury erupted online, branding the Hargroves eternal outcasts, opportunities evaporating wherever they turned. Mark materialized at the estate entrance shortly afterward, rain-soaked and shattered, collapsing in supplication. Elena observed from a distance, her heart armored now. "You witnessed my destruction and chose inaction," her final message read. "That decision is yours to bear alone." Their former grandeur evaporated. Forced into a cramped, run-down apartment, they survived through menial jobs, offering no dignity. Mrs. Hargrove, stripped of her throne of superiority, labored as a janitor, confronting daily the lowly status she once scorned in others. That in stark contrast, Elena delivered her daughter, a radiant, robust baby girl christened Victoria, in tribute. Victor remained inseparable through the birth, gripping Elena's hand, severing the cord himself, overcome with raw joy at holding his grandchild. "She carries your spirit," he murmured through happy tears. "Fierce, kind, and limitless." Harnessing the ordeal for greater good, Victor established a prominent foundation bearing Elena's name, dedicated to empowering abuse survivors worldwide. Her testimony evolved into salvation for thousands facing similar torment. As time progressed, Elena's unflinching memoir stormed bestseller charts, resonating deeply and sparking vital conversations. She ascended rapidly within her father's corporation, demonstrating brilliance and resilience, claiming her rightful place. Authentic romance blossomed anew with a compassionate soul who revered her entirety. Wounds, triumphs, and all. Fate orchestrated one final intersection years later in an everyday grocery store. Mrs. Hargrove, weathered and subdued, extended a trembling apology. Elena regarded her calmly, composure absolute. "I released the hatred," she answered softly yet firmly. "But the memory remains. Find your own healing." She proceeded gracefully, guiding her daughter's stroller, stepping into her waiting father's warm embrace beyond the doors. The Hargroves receded into forgotten shadows, devoured by self-inflicted remorse. Elena flourished exponentially, eternally fortified by paternal devotion that reshaped destiny itself. True dominance resides not in fortune or vengeance, but in love profound enough to conquer darkness utterly. Elena's radiance now illuminates endlessly, proving to all who listen. From utter degradation emerged an indomitable force, forged forever by a father's boundless protection and justice.